Guys, did I just crack the code? No, legit, I think Auntie just cracked the code of what Revelations 9 is describing. Hear me out.
All right, let's see it.
In a world where not many can agree on much, it seems that the general consensus these days is that yes, Jesus is coming back.
No, it's not.
And yes, in fact, it does seem many agree we are in end of times.
No, they don't.
Many also believe that the great Euphrates River drying up, coupled with the massive earthquake in Turkey and Syria, and yes, I know the Euphrates dries up often and almost every year, but never like this, not to where it exposed something deep below it, something like a cave, like a jail.
Those are tombs, not jails. We knew about them decades ago, and they have been uncovered before when falling water levels revealed them back in 2009.
Many believe that the 4 fallen angels that have been bound into the great Euphrates River have now been released.
Many continue to be wrong.
And per the Bible, once these 4 fallen angels are released, they are instructed to kill 1/3 of mankind. And I've always wondered, how would they do this? How would they kill 1/3 of mankind? Until 2 nights ago when I was reading my Bible, Revelations 9. And when I tell you, as I read it, one word hit me. And that one word hit me like a freight train. Yeah. Guys, I think I cracked the code. So if the 4 fallen angels have been released, where does that put us in the Bible now? Revelations 9:14-19. Saying to the 6th angel who had the trumpet, release the 4 angels who were bound at the great river Euphrates. So the 4 angels had been prepared for the hour and the day and the month and the year, were released to kill 1/3 of mankind. Now the number of the army of horsemen was 200 million. I heard the number of them. Those who sat on them had breastplates of fiery red, hyacinth blue, and sulfur yellow. Get ready to crack the code. And the heads of the horses were like heads of lions, and out of their mouths came fire, smoke, and brimstone. By these 3 plagues, 1/3 of mankind was killed, by the fire and the smoke and the brimstone which came out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouths and in their tails. For their tails are like serpents with heads, and with them they do harm. These angels are going to use these horses to kill 1/3 of mankind. So let's get into that. It was written centuries ago. There is no way they could understand, fathom, or even imagine the world or technology we have today. And I'm pretty sure we can safely assume that we were not going to have a bunch of fallen angels run around on horses with lion faces and tails like serpents with heads.
Which ought to be your first clue that the book of Revelation is not about the 21st century, but about the 1st century and 1st century Jewish apocalyptic imagery. But instead of understanding that, you are presupposing that it must be a reference to our day, because that is how you can make the text meaningful or useful to you. And so you squint at the text and you blur the lines of the imagery until they overlap and start to resemble something you feel you can make a case for that is identifiable today. You are reading into the text something from today in order to make the text meaningful and useful to you.
Imagine if these horses aren't horses, and for that matter, not animals at all. Imagine these horses are things, modern things, things we use daily and globally.
There are no such things, much less an army of 200 million such things being ridden around by riders wearing shiny multicolored breastplates. There never has been. There never will be, because this is 1st century Jewish apocalyptic imagery.
Things that have heads like lion that breathe smoke and fire and sulfur, with tails like serpents with heads. What if they are the things that have recently been making headlines? Guys, what if these horses are trains?
So they're definitely not trains. You wouldn't describe trains as a 200 million rider strong cavalry with people wearing shiny multicolored breastplates and horses with lions' heads and tails like serpents. That's definitely not a train. If we imagine for a moment that the book of Revelation was a prophecy about the future and that the author saw in vision trains, they would not have described them as a cavalry. They would have described them as battering rams, which were used by the empires that oppressed Israel for about 1,000 years. Here is an ancient Assyrian siege engine / battering ram from a bas-relief created by Assyria. Here's another one. Here's another one, and this one depicting the siege of Lachish, a city in the nation of Israel. But the book of Revelation was written in the late 1st century CE, and so they would have understood battering rams according to their usage by the Romans, which would have looked like this. We even have Josephus describing something that looks an awful lot like this that had metal in the shape of a ram's head on the end. Here's another depiction of a 1st century Roman battering ram.
How many chemical spills and explosions, train derailments, and wrecks have we had just in 2023 alone?
So putative biblical prophecies are definitely not about things that are happening in the United States. But in the United States, there are over 1,700 train derailments every single year on average. That's been the case for decades. There are also numerous chemical spills and exposures of toxic and other hazardous materials every year. There used to be more of them, and then we started imposing competent and data-based regulations. However, those are being peeled back. If you are excited about this, as that note on the screen suggests you be, then you are wildly unfit for any public office that exists in this nation and should not be allowed within ear or eye shot of any such office.
And the plagues caused by the fire and smoke and pollution, these toxic chemicals getting into our air, atmosphere, water, and soil, the animals one day will eventually eat, could absolutely cause plagues that would kill 1/3 of mankind. And with their heads and their tails, they do harm. Collisions and derailments, explosions and fires, releasing toxic and deadly chemicals into our world. What if the horses are trains?
They're not.